Hello, House of Metamorphosis Tribe. Welcome back to this channel where we're talking about everything other than the hair and working with ourselves and people from the inside out. Today's topic is about authenticity versus performance as hairdressers. And this is totally about us as hairdressers today. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because in my years of hairdressing, 39 years to be exact, I've come across one of the greatest performing artists industry in the world. I have seen some of the most incredible artists in the world be the best performers. They have a knack of being performative in the way that they work with their clients. And I've also seen, these performative hairdressers. I'm going to start with the performative hairdressers. I've also seen these performative hairdressers be on fire potentially for the first decade or so of their career, 20s, let's just say. And then they hit their second decade and their performance capacity starts weaning away, and they don't have the same enthusiasm as they had when they began their career in this performative state. And I'm going to be, these are usually the artists, the extroverts, the extreme creatives, the hairdressers that look outside the box and have larger than life personalities, right? They naturally, and then there's two sides to this. There's the performer that puts this on to gain their business, to keep their clients, and mostly to keep their clients entertained, right? And they feel by putting on a performance, it's going to keep their clients and keep them entertained, and therefore keep the retention of their business alive. But they're the ones that suffer burnout when the decade is over and they come into their second decade. They're the ones that I speak to that are going, oh my God, I've hit a wall. I just can't keep this up anymore is a very famous line. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep this up. I'm exhausted. I'm fatigued. I'm done. That's usually, and a lot of the times people at this point actually leave and exit the industry because it's severe burnout, and they've been running on adrenaline and running on parts of themselves. They've been borrowing energy. They've been borrowing energy from a part of themselves because they're young and they're vital and they have the energy, and they haven't been balancing it out in terms of self-care, nourishment, exercise, sleeping well, no substance abuse or any of those things that go on that maintain the health and the well-being of their vitality, their energy, to keep the vitality vital, to keep it alive, but most importantly, to not burn it out. Okay, so this is the consequence of performance. It has a very short lifespan, and it burns out very quickly. And we're going to flip now, and we're going to look at the authentic hairdresser. The hairdresser that doesn't put on a show, that is quite introverted but really loves the creative aspect of the industry. That is usually the one that wouldn't talk. Now, I'm just going to use an archetype through the hairdressing, through the evolved matrix called, and this is the empath, right? This is a depiction of the archetypal characteristic of the empath. And before we were talking about the archetypal characteristic of the artist, and this is the archetypal characteristic of the empath. The empath is to absorb, is to take on. And that's the shadow side of the empath, where they take on other people's energy, where they listen to other people's stories, where they feel responsible to make another person feel better about themselves because they are in the position of their own nature of being empathetic. But more importantly, they're in that position of thinking that part of their job role is to make that person feel better. Now, just pay attention. Both archetypes, both characteristics, both want to make their clients feel good. That's the shadow. That's the shadow. They both want to make their clients feel really good about themselves. The performative hairdresser wants to keep their clients entertained. The empathetic hairdresser wants to make sure that their clients feel heard and seen and felt and sympathized and empathized with. And they both have different kinds of clients. You'll sort of see the archetypes that actually, congregate to the artist and the entertainer, and the clients that congregate to the empath. And quite generally, I'm just going to share, we've got the performer, the artist, will usually attract, like outgoing people that are really socially interactive, that, are really clued in to what's happening in the world, and, are very talkative themselves and love a great chit-chat gossip session, give and take, come backwards and forwards, and they love the drama. They love it. It's who they are. So they're going to be very attracted to the artist. The people that are attracted to the empath are usually people that are usually very, deeply intimate. They have a lot of story to share. They need to offload their story. They want somebody to hear them, to see them, to acknowledge them, to validate them. And they also want to relieve themselves. And the empath will attract people that are of that type. They're really quite quiet about their life, but they also want to be heard and seen and validated for it. They want someone to speak to, pretty much. But the shadow, I'm talking about the shadow here, right? So the shadow, which is like the unseen, unconscious side of these things, is both of these roles, which is, we're talking about authenticity versus performance. Both of these roles will cause burnout. One will cause emotional burnout and what we call emotional labor burnout. And the other one's going to cause physical burnout, energetic burnout. But they're both burnout. Because they're coming from an inauthentic place. You have to put on that suit. It's almost like you have to psych yourself up when you get to work to step into the performer and to have enough space to take on all your client stories, right? You have to prepare yourself. It's like brace yourself. I'm going to work. That's the kind of statement. So when you're doing that, if you're doing that or saying that or presenting in that way, then what's happening is you're actually preparing to perform. You're being inauthentic and you're moving away from who you truly are. And this, channel, these conversations are all about coming closer and closer into our authenticity, about coming closer and closer, because that is the solution of not experiencing burnout, of not fatiguing in this industry, of not actually hitting a wall at first decade and going, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, if you last that long in this state. Or needing more and more and more substance like caffeine and sugar and all sorts of things to keep, you borrowing time and borrowing energy, right? Which again creates exceedingly, health issues down the track. And all of these conversations are about, well, how do we actually refine and come back into our authenticity so that we're not performative and we're not taking on and we're not moving further away from our authenticity and our truth which is the outcome of burnout. That actually creates the outcome of burnout, of being performative. So we need to sort of like start, as I was just sharing, we need to incrementally start coming back into our authenticity. Now, what does it mean to be authentic? A lot of people, like especially some hairdressers that I work with and talk to, they don't like it when I talk about this. They don't like it when I see a part of themselves and I'm just like, well, you know, like who are you talking to in that way to? Like, what are you trying to obtain? What are you trying to get out of being excessively empathetic or being excessively performative? These are the questions. And I'm asking you these questions as well. Like, what are you personally getting out of it? Apart from client retention, what are you personally getting out of it? Is it meeting you at the end of your day? You going home feeling alive and revitalized? Because if you're feeling alive and revitalized from your day, then you're being in your authentic self. And I'm not saying that some hairdressers aren't naturally extroverts and naturally out there and creative and boisterous and fun and there is some natural hairdressers that I've experienced as well that are like that, and they feel enlivened. They're still like full energy at the end of the day because it's their natural state of being. They're very positive people, they're optimistic, and they have this very creative, very extroverted way of being in the world, naturally, authentically. So they're not going to get burnt out at the end of the day. And this is the light side of the performer, is they're in their authenticity and performance is their natural capacity. And the light side of the empath is that they naturally care, they naturally love to listen, they naturally like to hold space for clients, to allow their clients to feel validated and heard, but they're not doing it to retain their client. They're doing it because that's their nature, and they leave at the end of the day feeling like they've done a great day's work. You know, they've done great hair, but they've also supported and listened to some great stories and supported their clients, right? And it sort of slips into the natural therapist as well, which is another archetype that I have. And it's, you know, the natural therapist, the one that likes to solve everybody's problems, the one that's like, so tell me, you know, what happened with that? Well, you know, I would advise, and this is a really big word that hairdressers use, that, you know, are the natural therapist, I would advise, which is an absolute big red cross. Never advise. But we're not going to get into the evolved curriculum with this. But what we're going to do is we're going to just take a look at burnout, empath, burnout, artist, inauthentic. That's burnout. Non-burnout is extroverted naturally and naturally empathetic. Don't feel like they're putting on a performance. They are totally themselves. They are totally in their authenticity, and they totally feel revitalized and alive at the end of the day. These are the cues to pay attention to. So if you're feeling burnt out at the end of the day and you're the one that's going home going, please just don't talk to me, I don't have capacity, I'm exhausted, and you're completely different when you get home than you are at work, then you know that you're putting on a show. Then you know that you're not being authentic. And this is where the journal prompting is going to come in for you. Why are you feeling that you need to actually put on an act or a performance? How would you rather be? Like, if you could be anything you wanted to be in the salon naturally, that you would feel at ease and balanced and happy in, and you wouldn't be exhausted at the end of the day, what would that look like for you? These are great questions to be asking yourself and great journal prompts right now. I'm supporting you in just taking a look at these characteristics and attributes to support the shift to get you out of burnout. And these are what all these videos are about. They're to support you to take a look at the psychological aspect that are creating these ailments that are precipitating factors in potentially the demise or the halt of your career and the extension of your vocation. So really important questions to be asking yourself. And also, if you're really in this industry for the long term, how are you going to maintain your health, your well-being, and actually create balance in your life that's going to support, because don't forget, you need a body to do this work. So how are you supporting your body? How are you supporting your body so that you can maintain the longevity in this industry? Really, really important question. This is self-care, straight down the line of self-care. So take a look at these parts of you. Authenticity versus, performance is a really big conversation and a much deeper conversation than, 15, 20 minutes of having a chat here with you. It's such a deep conversation, and getting on top of it right now, especially if you're in the early years of your career, actually becoming aware of these aspects right now will help you sustain the longevity of your career. So really important. And even if you've been in it for 10 or 20 years and you're starting to get fatigued, even taking a look at it now and making incremental changes, like, having silent sessions with your clients once or twice a day, so that you can just bring your energy in and just revive, catch up, so that you're not constantly in the giving output. There's input as well. Another question that I'd like to ask yourself as a prompt is, do you have reciprocal exchanges with your clients? Very important. Are your experiences give and take? I'm talking about the conversation. Is there give and take, reciprocation in your conversation with your clients? Are you giving and taking with one another, or are you just giving? So great questions to be asking yourself. And in saying that, I'm just going to wrap it up and just say, if you've really enjoyed, if you're enjoying these conversations and you're enjoying these videos, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It helps the channel grow, and it helps to get the information that I'm sharing out there into the world for our industry. My invested interest is to support an industry that I'm a third generation hairdresser in, and that I love deeply, like it is in my blood and in my veins. And this industry is very important for me because I see what we do as an industry in supporting people and helping transform people. And I have dedicated my whole life's work to evolving the industry, to supporting it to grow and to transform and to evolve into transformational professionals that I believe we are, as I've experienced it for 25 years, being a transformational professional and bringing transformational professional education to the industry to help it evolve and sustain for the future. And if you're further curious about what it is that I do, go to houseofmetamorphosis.au and check out what I've got on the website there, the Evolve curriculum, the Initiation Self-Mastery program, and definitely one-on-one mentoring with me where I can support you at any phase, any level, wherever you are at, and how you need to be supported. We can start right there. In saying all of that, thank you so much for being here, for listening, for being present, and for joining me on this journey of transforming the hairdressing industry from the inside out. And I so look forward to having our next conversation with you to follow. Take care. See you soon.